just a little bit of background. In 2009, Alan Milburn's panel on fair access to the professional services found that the accountancy profession had the largest decline of all professions in social mobility. And unless trends were actually reversed, tomorrow's professional world would be growing up in a family that was richer than 7 in 10 of all families in the UK. Research from organisations like the Sutton Trust estimated that the cost of low social mobility in the UK would be £140 billion per year by 2050. I think that's a really stark message, an economic message, as well as a social imperative to actually improve the chances that are open to low and middle income young people. Well, Grant Thornton started its social mobility journey back in 2013, and I have to say very much championed by our CEO, Sasha Romanovich, who is absolutely passionate about this. But why, as a business, is this important to us? Because talent is the lifeblood of an industry like ours. We're a business that thrives on the innovation and creativity of our people. And I don't need to tell anybody in this room that recruitment and retention of talent is tough in this world, where the requirements of our workplace are changing from day to day. What's important today in terms of skills is completely different in 5 years' time. It's a fast-moving world. So being inclusive at Grant Thornton is actually about future-proofing our talent and living our vision of a vibrant economy. At Grant Thornton, our philosophy is that to be a successful firm, we need to have a vibrant economy around us. A vibrant economy to us is one which realises that the shared potential of businesses, cities, people, and communities across the country. It's an economy that's founded on trust and integrity in markets, one which unlocks unsustainable growth in dynamic organisations and creates environments in which people, communities, and businesses can thrive. I don't think that society and businesses can live separately as we go on. We really need to kind of bring that picture together and have a holistic view. I call this inclusion. My experience of working in diversity and inclusion tells me that if we're really going to achieve this, we cannot be disconnected from the communities that we work in. And at Grant Thornton, social mobility is very much embedded in our inclusion strategy. It's not something that happens elsewhere over there. I'm going to try and do this. Oh, there we go. I could have even moved it on earlier. So to tell you a little bit about our journey in terms of what we did particularly around the recruitment strategy. Our research and analysis, and Karis has touched on some of this, told us that a key barrier to entry into the profession was academic achievement. But when we looked at the link between performance and academic achievement, we actually found that there was no correlation between high academic achievement and high performance in role. Our response to this was to remove minimum grade requirements for graduates, school leavers, apprenticeships, and interns, everybody who's coming in through different routes. We were the first professional services company to actually do that. We've also significantly invested in supporting our students through the recruitment process. Why? Because students from underprivileged backgrounds tend to have less access and less knowledge about the recruitment processes that we operate. So to help us address this, we have put into place and taken actions and activities. A number of things that we've done include setting up a buddy network so that all our students have a buddy or a mentor from application right through to offer. We found that we needed to find that support right the way through the process. We also wanted to provide them with an honest insight into our firm and the opportunities that are available. To support some of this, we also have online communities. We know we can't just do the recruitment and the engagement in the traditional ways that we've done this. We need to kind of use the technology that's available to us so that we can engage with people that want to engage with us. So our online communities offer peer-to-peer support, as well as guidance from our recruitment team. So our recruitment teams are really on hand, actually, to take questions, to guide people through the process. We currently have more than 3,000 active candidates on our community sites. And this site also enables our new recruits to link with their managers. When they know they're getting an offer, they can start connecting with the people who are going to be managing them, getting that introduction into the teams, kind of starting to acclimatize to the culture and learning something about the people they're going to be working with. We also have something we call Spilling the Beans platform. And this platform is actually managed, owned, and run by some of our young people who've actually come recently into the organization, because they can provide a real insight into life at the firm. We really want to demystify our opportunities for greater inclusion. But this sort of transparency also helps us to understand better the young people who are coming into the profession or want to come into the profession. Because this is a two-way process. It's not just about us telling young people, what it's like for the professional services. We also need to have a better understanding of what their experience is, what are their questions, what are their worries and thoughts, and how can we respond to that. We're also aware that everybody who's going to kind of apply to us takes part in that process, and it takes a lot of effort and a lot of courage sometimes. They're not all going to be successful in achieving a place at Grant Thornton. So our platforms also aim to upskill everybody who's interacting with them so that they can go on to apply for opportunities elsewhere if they don't make it into Grant Thornton. We recently also changed our approach in terms of how we target universities. Historically, most of the professional services, I think, would admit that they've always targeted the Russell Group universities. That's where we go. That's where we kind of look for our grads. So we realized that if we were going to really shift the dial, then we were going to have to do something really radical. So with the resources that we had available, we made a very conscious decision to target non-Russell Group universities only. This was a gamble for us. And there was a lot of debate around this. How would this kind of hit the talent that was coming in? How would it affect our business? But we did it, and I think that took a lot of commitment and courage to do it. But to help us to continually understand what the impact of our actions are, we are continually analysing the impact of the work and the activities that we're undertaking. And one of the things that we started to do was monitor the socioeconomic background of all applicants and our current employees. So what was the impact, and what did we do next? As I said, we are continually monitoring what we're doing, and one of the things that we're doing is that we're working with the Bridge Group, and I'm sure many of you will be familiar with them, but an organisation that specialises in research in social mobility. We're working very closely with them to help us analyse the data that we're collecting, to understand what's actually working for us, what's actually working in terms of broadening the social diversity of our talent. And there are two key things that our findings are actually telling us. First, as we shared already, we've discovered that about 20% of the firm's annual intake is now made up of graduates who previously would have been screened out by minimum entry requirements. And secondly, and I love this, the performance reviews of our 2014-50 intake show us that there is very little difference in performance between those who would have met the minimum requirements and those who wouldn't have. In fact, those who would have been screened out are actually performing slightly better. In terms of non-graduate routes into the business, we found that school leaver hiring has increased by 52% over the last 4 years. We've seen our school leavers go on to more senior roles, which has been in comparable time to their graduate counterparts. Some of our most senior partners actually joined the firm as school leavers, and they provide fantastic role models. In fact, recently I heard one of our most senior partners actually saying he had come through a non-grad route, but actually he did also confess that he'd spent most of his professional career pretending to be a middle-class white man, which has said something about his own kind of experience. And I think if those role models can share that, it's really inspiring. Our business actually also reports back that the school leavers are performing really well, and if not stronger than some of their grad peers, due to the relevance of the work and life experiences that they bring with them. And they gain experience so quickly because of something about their own kind of drive and their desire to perform and progress really well. Our stakeholders, that's our business, are actually really loving the school leavers as well. They're finding they're bringing in this really rich diversity of thought because of what they bring with them. And as I say, we're constantly reviewing our processes. It's really important that we get this right, and we need to know what we've stopped doing and what we need to do more of. And we recently realized that applicants from more privileged backgrounds have better careers advice, mentoring, and also get early on into the recruitment process. Whereas those from not so privileged backgrounds join the recruitment process later, and they're more likely to lose out in that way. So to provide more balance, we've introduced a much longer window of recruitment. We've just introduced that earlier this year, so we'll see how that actually kind of improves those chances for people. And finally, in terms of addressing candidates, we are also focusing on strengths and potential rather than competence and experience. For example, it's clear that candidates from privileged backgrounds have greater access to extracurricular activities. So we are actually removing this from our recruitment process. Again, we will kind of continue to monitor and see how that helps us to improve. So what's the bigger picture for us? Of course, we're acutely aware that there will be a revolving door of diverse talent if our culture is not one where all talent is supported to achieve its full potential. I was struck by a comment of one of our younger people who said that when he went to formal events where he had to wear a black tie, he actually felt he had more in common with the waiters than the people he was there to talk to. So how can we make the culture more inclusive? This doesn't mean to say we have to stop doing the things that many other people enjoy, but rather how can we be more diverse in the things that we do? How do we kind of engage businesses in a different way? At Grant Thornton, we've developed an inclusion strategy where social mobility is woven through every strand. We're also carrying on with our research to help us better understand how social mobility actually intersects with gender and ethnicity. We feel there are many dimensions to this story and we can't just look at one. This will help us to develop and become more inclusive in terms of improving social mobility. We also believe that to continue to improve it, we need to work with our peers. Grant Thornton was one of the founder members of Access to Accountancy, a forum dedicated to improving access to the accountancy profession. I mentioned the Bridge Group earlier in terms of doing groundbreaking data analysis for better understanding. Through Access to Accountancy, we provide work experience to a diverse range of students. Our profile has almost been 50-50 male-female and 44% Black and minority ethnic. And some of the feedback that we've had from participants through this route has said that 94% of them said that it's helped to increase their confidence, and 100% rated that their awareness of careers and professional services was really good and excellent. So our work with schools is aimed at improving employability, career perspectives, and lives of school leavers. We're targeting areas across the country that have been identified as cold spots, where unemployment is high and the distance from employers is great. We've taken some radical steps. Others seem like common sense to me, but we believe they are really helping us to shift the dial. So, in summary, if I was to share 3 simple things that I think we could all do, is challenge the recruitment process, get good with data, and work on the culture. Thank you.